Down to Chat is brought to you by swag.com. We are going to be talking more about employee retention in this podcast. And I think one of the super important parts of keeping employees is making them feel valued. It's core to company culture. It's core to making people feel welcome. And so many brands pull out this janky old swag that people don't want to keep. Swag.com is exciting because they carry thousands of incredible products, from custom tech to apparel like North Face and Yeti and Nike and so much more. Swag.com works with 5,000 companies like Amazon, Netflix, Spotify, TikTok, Google, Apple, and a whole bunch of small startups. What the most exciting thing for Swag, the most exciting thing for me on Swag.com is that you can create these custom gift templates where when somebody joins your company, they fill out a form. They go onto this landing page. I know Cody's a big landing page guy. Hop on a landing page and you can actually, brand this landing page, and it feels like your company's swag selection page, which is absolutely awesome. And you can ship 50 different swag boxes to 50 different addresses all on their site. So excited for that. If you use promo code D2C10 at checkout, you get 10% off your first order. Check it out, swag.com. Two things. First of all, setting expectations. Like, I think Ritual, if they had put on the website, this is a pre-order, or we're expecting delays, I think they would have seen a lower conversion on that page, but more of the people that purchased would have stuck around. And that's my whole thing, is like, you're choosing more money today versus this LTV game. Whereas like at Olipop, when we were sold out in a product, we'd market as sold out like we do at Jones, right? Like you can click to be alerted, and so many other brands will continue selling. And they'll be like, oh, there's a lapse in 4 days. Let's, like we have to meet this revenue expectation by the end of the month, or our investors will be pissed off and they'll just sell it. And if we have 3 days between when a product goes out to when new product comes in, it's off for those 3 days. We collect that list and we end up, pushing out back in stock. Most brands don't do that. We're back. Welcome to D2C Down to Chat. It's been a minute. I feel like I've been gone for weeks, completely AWOL. Cody has been to Paris, to London. Rumor has it he's not speaking English anymore. He's fresh. He's back. EarPod Pro Max.
10 pounds heavier, but a lot poorer, but that's okay.
Yeah, he's back. He's back at it again. We took a tiny little hiatus, but we're back, and we have a couple of fun things we want to hit on today. But first, shout out to our sponsors, swag.com and Wayflyer. Thank you for making this a thing. And let's hop into it.
When do we get some Down to Chat swag?
I mean, this is probably something we should have chatted about before we started, so we can kind of
put it in the agreement. We messed up.
Maybe between season 1 and season 2, put up a swag store, slinging swag.
Let's do it. If we bring it back for season 2, you never know. It's
God.
All about what the people want, if they want it. So we're only on episode 3. I think it's a little early.
As long as you don't get us canceled, I think we'll be fine.
Oh, I'll probably get us canceled.
Well, I mean, it's been a week. FCC, TikTok, Cody's life almost came to an end.
Oh my God. You know when I got that, when I saw that on Twitter or Slack, somebody actually sent it to me. I was in the car on the way back from JFK. So I was like jet lagged, 2-week vacation, like heading back. And I was like, fuck. It was like the most stressful thing. And I don't actually think it's going to happen. And I think we should talk about it. But it's just like, it could get crazy. It's fucking crazy. What's your take on it?
I mean, my take on it is that this data is all like Facebook's grabbing all the data, and I don't know if the U.S. government knows what Facebook is doing, what they're doing with it or not doing with it. I mean, I get why it's not fun for China to have all the information of U.S. consumers. The other side of this is, like, this has been a conversation since 2019 or 2018, and I think the thing that
Trump tried to ban them.
Right, and the thing that kept coming up is they came out and said that their servers are all U.S. based, and clearly that's not true, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, I think they have them. But then essentially that whistleblower said that it does, yes, they're U.S. based, but China, whoever it is in China, like the main administrator, can see everything.
So I go back and forth with this because Huawei, which is actually extremely popular in Europe and Israel and everywhere else, they sell phones. Huge part of the company is owned by China and based in China, being built in China, and US actually banned them. Like you can't get that in the US.
Oh,
So
really?
like we've seen things like that happen. TikTok is now tremendous, so it's like I guess I can see both ways. I guess I don't have a super strong take. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be banned?
Do you
Well,
want it? Let's say you're in charge. Let's say the head of the FCC came to you and was like, Eli, you're the guy. I'm putting it in your hands. Should we ban TikTok or not? What would you say?
I mean, Jones Road would go bust, right? Who would be slinging mascara
Yeah,
if
yeah,
not for
yeah.
the
I
TikTok?
mean, but like,
What would Obvi? What would
but
Ashton
outside of
Gunn at
that,
Obvi do?
honestly, all
I
oh
mean,
man, screwed. What would Gary Vee do?
TikTok content. I mean, I think that there's probably somewhere in the middle. Like this is not everyone's favorite take, but there's probably somewhere in the middle to go where like and I think Trump had this where it's like push them into the corner and tell them if you can't prove to us that you're not siphoning all the information to the Communist Republic of China, then you can stick around. I think FCC is interesting because I don't think they have the political power to shut them down. It sounds like they're asking Apple and Google to remove it
Yeah,
from the
they're
App
asking.
Store. So I don't know. Where does that go? Do you think Apple and Google are have a reason to remove it from the App Store from their own personal agenda?
Yeah, well, here's my take. So Apple has so the FCC has asked them to take it down. You're right. They can't. I guess currently they can't tell them, to they can't ban TikTok like Trump tried to, but they're asking them politely, maybe not that politely behind the scenes to take it down. And they are saying that TikTok has violated their App Store policies
Hmm.
about their, essentially their use of data and what they're doing with user data. And the interesting part is, Apple has come out and made itself the privacy company. If you drive
Hmm.
into Lincoln Tunnel, you'll see all the iPhone ads and all the Apple ads for privacy, and it's their thing. It's obviously everyone listening to this knows about iOS 14, and it's do they actually care about privacy? Probably not. They know it's a compelling marketing angle. So there's a few ways I think you could take this. I could see it where Google bans them first because Google is placing a huge emphasis on YouTube Shorts, which is
Hmm.
obviously a competitor. And it's to me the biggest certainty is that vertical short form video is like the future. It's the present and the future. It's what everybody's going
Quibi.
towards, and all the resources are going towards. No, like shorter, not like 15 minute. That was
Yeah.
you're giving people's attention spans way too much credit.
Yeah. 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 This is true. No, I
So
I, I hear
so
the
like
YouTube
why
angle.
like if you're Google, yeah, right. If you're Google, why don't you just crush your biggest competitor, and then be like, hey, we have shorts, and obviously they have all obviously normal YouTube, but now all those creators go either back or go to YouTube Shorts. They can get all of that, and to me that makes a ton of sense. And then if they do it, Apple has no choice because if Google does it and they're saying, hey, we care about privacy, which is obviously not the case, and then Apple, who waged war on Facebook because of it, now has to do it. So I think
Hmm.
if Google does it, Apple has to do it. I think even if not, like it kind of is not a very good look for Apple to be like, hey, we crushed Facebook and everything else because we care about privacy, but we will allow TikTok.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The other thing I'd
What do
be
you think?
curious is over the last period of time, have you seen since brands have invested a lot more money in TikTok ads, have we seen the cost of acquisition or like cost per click or any sort of numbers on Facebook go down because of supply and demand or no?
No, not really. I don't think a significant amount of spend has shifted to TikTok.
Hmm.
So I don't really think that it has. I think Facebook is still at a high. I think there's probably some. I do know like year over year spend for most DTC brands is down on Facebook. The efficiency isn't there, whether it's visibility or actual performance isn't there. So they cut back. But I don't think it's kind of meaningfully changed the cost on Facebook. But TikTok, like a year ago, and we weren't running TikTok a year ago, but was like super cheap, sub $10 CPMs, sub dollar, $2 clicks. Now it's like our CPMs on TikTok are almost higher than our CPMs on Facebook. We're up to like 20 something dollars. The click is between $2 to $4 sometimes.
Wow.
Um, and so the narrative was that TikTok is this cheap traffic source. Maybe it doesn't convert that well, but it's just super cheap. Just get them in your funnel, do whatever you need to do. Ironically enough, looking at Northbeam 1 day click ROAS, shout out to Northbeam, the best attribution tool on the planet. Also looking at like GA last click. Yeah. Also looking at GA last click, our TikTok traffic converts better than our Facebook. And it's not like our Facebook traffic converts poorly, but like it's just kind of interesting. And I don't really, there's no point or lesson in this except like, the narrative might not be totally correct, but it's like, to us, it's more expensive traffic, but it actually converts a lot better, which is kind of interesting.
Why do you think that is?
That's a great question. Why do you think it is? I don't really know. I mean, I think we've I don't want to say hyper optimized the funnel, but I think we've found something that really works on TikTok, and I think a lot of brands haven't. Beauty is really big on TikTok. I mean, beauty's big on any video platform, so it's really big on YouTube. We just really haven't done really anything on YouTube yet, but I think beauty is really big. Obviously, we have founder market fit. I think there's product market fit, and then I also think we do very educational stuff. It doesn't feel like an ad, and then also we have just kind of tested and hyper optimized a funnel that works, which is listicle, education to quiz that we talked about. So I think it's probably more of just like those factors, and it's like I would be curious if you're listening to this. Reach out to us on Twitter. Just let me know, email me, whatever. I'd be curious if anybody is seeing the same, because I would doubt it. I'm not saying it to brag at all. It's just like super interesting that we found.
I think in general, what to me as a consumer, what's interesting about TikTok ads in general, I guess, is that the ads more or less feel less like an ad than it does on Instagram. Like Instagram is very kind of swipe up energy, and it's two things, right? It's the way people are creating TikToks, not ads, but it's also the format of the swipe. It doesn't say sponsored and huge. It's not like you don't see the swipe up. It feels more native to the platform, and you can easily just swipe right through it, and it's not. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel as aggressive, if that makes sense.
And you're right. And the good ads have to be that way. I think it's for whatever reason, like. I think maybe it's because it's full screen vertical video. Like when you're on TikTok, you're kind of, a lot of times you have headphones in. So you're kind of like fully focused, versus Instagram, you're kind of like checked out. You know what I mean? You're not as kind of fully into it. You don't have headphones on. So I feel like people don't mind being interrupted with an ad as much, versus TikTok. It's like, if you're going to interrupt somebody, like you got to make it worth their while. The way I think about it, right, is like, TikTok is an entertainment platform. It's not a social platform. It's like if you were going to use two examples. One is if you want to serve somebody an ad while they're watching Netflix, which is Netflix is about to start having ads. It's like if you're in the middle of your favorite show and you start getting an ad, like you're not going to take out your phone and buy right then and there, unless it's the most compelling thing in the world. It's probably going to be like, oh, that was cool, that was educational, that was informative. Let me remember that for later, and I'll go search that later. Also, same thing. Imagine if you're at the movies. That's to me what a good TikTok ad has to be. Is like it has to be so good and compelling and entertaining that people don't mind getting their movie interrupted. Because TikTok is just it's a Netflix competitor. It's not really an Instagram competitor. Like obviously it is, but it's entertainment more than anything.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. The last piece, how it's entertainment. It's not like Instagram where you're swiping through somebody's life. It's not a photo sharing app. The last question on TikTok: which brands do you see that are what brands do you see crushing it on TikTok as far as ads?
That's a good question. As far as ads, okay, there are a few. Definitely as far as ads, like organic, I don't really know. There's definitely like in beauty some do well. There's definitely some brands, but I don't really know, because I'm not necessarily getting them in my feed. But for ads, I guess it's really who I see a lot. Disco. Do you know like Disco? It's like the men's kind of like skincare, like eye stick. Uh-huh. They run a ton. And again, I'm just assuming they run a ton. They do a really good job with creators. They do a really good job repurposing. I know that they're spending decently heavy on TikTok. The only negative thing on TikTok is once you start spending, and we get this problem, once you spend, for most brands, it's about $15K a day. Your frequency goes up, so you start just showing ads to the same people over and over. So like I can't go on TikTok without seeing a disco ad at this point, and for a lot of people, it's kind of off-putting. And I know the same thing is happening to a lot of people for Jones Road. I know, Athletic Greens was spending huge on TikTok a while ago. I don't know if they still are. And I think they were crushing it, but I think now it's so Disco, and then Mudwater runs a ton. I think Disco does a really good job. Mudwater is okay. Who have you seen that you think does a good job?
I mean, Mudwater is fascinating because I think they were one of the early brands in CPG that were crushing it with long form YouTube ads, like pre-roll 3-minute videos, which was fascinating. And it was like probably the only ad that I've watched beginning to end because it felt like it was storytelling.
How cool.
I'm trying to think, like, I don't get targeted for many like CPG brands on TikTok. And I honestly can't remember very many.
What do you get?
I honestly, if you like off the top of my head, I can't remember the last ad I've seen. Like, I don't think I've seen many great ads. I think on the organic side, I think some brands that have crushed it organically. Run Gum have done like a really good job organically. Muddy Bites, they've done like a really solid job organically. I think.
Have they?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the people that have just figured out, like, it's like once you crack it, and you grow really quickly. I mean, Obvi has. I've seen Obvi ads for sure. They've definitely targeted me with that.
Some solid ads.
I mean, Ron and Ash, they're going. They must have spent a lot of money on me. I should buy the damn thing already, right? I mean, it's gotten silly at this point, but shout out to the G's. Yeah, I guess moving on from TikTok, one of the biggest topics that I had in mind for today. Sean from at Sean Ecom, Sean from Ridge Wallet, pretty prolific operator in the space. They've been crushing it.
Also, pretty prolific meme guy.
Big meme guy, 100%. I saw him tweet about his experience with Feastables, which is Mr. Beast chocolate bar. Nick from Shaman Brands has worked with them. I'm friendly with the director of CX there, Jess, and they have this obviously iconic person at the helm there, Mr. Beast, who has a zillion followers on YouTube, and they've done like their kind of phase 1, and they've just launched like a season 2 or phase 2 of their chocolate. I think they launched milk chocolate, and they went viral with this massive video of him giving away a chocolate factory, which was iconic, and they sold like crazy. And Sean was writing that he waited 20 days for his order, and he didn't feel like impatient at all because they followed up twice during his shipment. They gave him a free gift because of the delay, and I was just like, to me, that's always fascinating how
so they use Wonderment, right?
Shout out to Wonderment. They use Wonderment on
that's cool.
Yeah, to ensure that if it's stuck for a long time in transit, you can automatically kind of reach out. But I think what's fascinating is as a operator and as a consumer, you think that if something should take 3 days and takes 20, the status quo is you'll be super pissed off. And I'm extremely fascinated by brands that can kind of hack that experience and make it feel like you're excited to wait and you feel like you've been treated well on the wait. I mean, we chat about this, or maybe I chat about this in other places and I'm confusing it, but I mean, my entry into D2C was this luggage brand, which was a Kickstarter brand, and I joined. They were 2 years delayed on the product, and I think it's, my kind of hack there was making people feel like they're being kept updated. But I think it's pretty astonishing that I think most brands will just be like, okay, this is delayed 20 days. I should just keep a very low profile. Hope customers forgot that they spent $20 on chocolate, and I think that to me is fantastic. I love seeing brands win like that.
What would you do? Because I would imagine I would be pretty pissed if it took me 20 days. I mean, I just ordered from Ritual. Like they had a new probiotic, and I don't know. It didn't say anything about a pre-order, but like it probably took me like 3 weeks to get it. And I'm thinking like, oh, maybe they forgot about my order. Maybe it's lost, and I had to kind of keep checking. Just check and see if I got an email. And like, I don't want to say I was pissed. It wasn't an awful customer experience, but I wasn't that happy about waiting 3 weeks. If I needed it, I probably would have been pretty upset. What did Feastables do? Or if you don't know what they did, like what would you recommend for people listening in that scenario?
Yeah, I think, two things. First of all, I think the way you're saying the story with Ritual, it doesn't sound like you're canceling tomorrow. You're just like, okay, this is a little bump in the road. And I think you also have a ton of empathy for that because you're on the brand side and you're like, okay, shit happens. It's not optimal. I feel like they can do better, but like they probably got a bunch
But it
of
would have
orders.
been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been nice, I guess, to have a little bit more proactive communication. Is that the key then?
Yeah, well, I think it's a few things. I think the reason why customers generally get pissed off is because there's this space in between expectation and what really happens. And I think what brands like my entry into the world of D2C was Kickstarter, which is a perfect example of you ordering something and not knowing when it'll come. Like you are told it can come in 6 months, but probably 70 to 80% of campaigns end up getting pushed off. And I think the key with the campaigns that do well in terms of keeping their customers happy are constant communication. And then the second thing on top of constant communication is no bullshitting. So I think brands that will constantly communicate. Like I've ordered something in the past and I don't want to drag them, but hey, we have a ton of orders, blah, blah, blah. It'll take 2 days. And then 3 days later, just another day. And you're like, that was planned. Like there's no way that they're just BSing instead of saying right off the bat, saying it'll take an extra week. And here's what you can have while you wait. And then so I think two things. First of all, setting expectations. Like I think Ritual, if they had put on the website, this is a pre-order or we're expecting delays, I think they would have seen a lower conversion on that page, but more of the people that purchased would have stuck around. And that's my whole thing is like, you're choosing more money today versus this LTV game. Whereas like at Olipop, when we were sold out in a product, we'd market it sold out. We'd set like we do at Jones, right? Like you can click to be alerted, and so many other brands
Notified, but we don't sell it.
Right, but so many other brands will continue selling, and they'll be like, "Oh, there's a lapse in 4 days. Let's, like we have to meet this revenue expectation by the end of the month, or our investors will be pissed off." And they'll just sell it. And if we have 3 days between when a product goes out to when new product comes in, it's off for those 3 days. We collect that list and we end up, pushing out back in stock. Most brands don't do that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Most brands will just continue to sell it, and then those orders will be very, very delayed. And the problem with that is you never know, especially with everything with craziness happening now. It's like, all right, your warehouse is telling you they'll be able to ship it out in 3 days, but you never know what's going to happen, and it might be 6. So it's probably not the best customer experience. Let's say it does happen, though. What do you do? What should the CX team do? What should the marketing team do to make up for it? Should they be saying anything? If so, what's the proper messaging and tone?
Well, I think two things. First of all, I love the idea of giving optionality to cancel. Like, I love the idea of saying, like, if you needed this urgently, it's going to take an extra 7 days. We're really sorry. Mm-hmm. Explain how it happened. Like, I think brands hate giving this behind the veil view. They hate saying, like, oh, our warehouse staff has COVID. They hate saying that because it makes them sound less than. But that's real life. We're just a bunch of people working in a capitalistic machine. And it's okay for you to say that your warehouse is short-staffed or it's very hard to hire and you're delayed because you had a bunch of orders. So I think being completely transparent as to what happened and giving the optionality to cancel and say, like, if you want to cancel and here's a discount for your next order, that's totally fine. Like, I think that's imperative. The other thing I'd say is that email should come from a person, not from a brand. So instead of coming from Feastables, it should come from Jess, or instead of coming from Jones, it should come from Eli, and say, like, hey, I'm Eli, because we talk about this often. It's very easy to be pissed off at Jones Road, the brand. More difficult to be pissed off at Eli. I'm here communicating with you saying, your order's delayed. Here's what really happened. We oversold. We're silly. We are having issues with Shopify. We oversold. It's going to take an extra 4 days to get your order out. If you'd like to cancel it and repurchase it when we're back in stock, you can do that. Or you can keep it, and here's a 10% off discount on your next order for X, Y, and Z. Or what Feastables, I imagine, did is they added an extra 2 bars. Right, so in our case, we can add a mini miracle bar.
By the way, I might just be really, really slow, but to me, it's the simplest thing in the world. But I never thought about it before. But when you said it the first time about how it's a lot harder to be mad at a person than a brand, I was just light bulb moment. I was like, it's so simple, but it makes so much sense.
Well, Cody, if you think about it for a minute, the reason why most brands don't do that is because most people that are on the CX team are not getting paid enough or don't give a shit enough to be the person that people potentially could be mad at, so they hide behind a brand. And you see brands as large as HP and Dell, you'll reach out to them and they'll just copy and paste the privacy policy or T's and C's or whatever it is. And I realized that when I was at the luggage company, there was constantly screw the name of the brand. And then when it was, hey, I'm Eli, I just joined, you can't be mad at me for something that happened 2 years ago. I joined today. My job is to make sure that you get your product A. B, my job is to make sure that you get communication throughout. It's been 2 years. the thing I can't fix up what happened in the past, but I can tell you from now until you get your order, we'll keep in touch with you every single week or every single month. And I think that the other kind of interesting thing about pre-orders is this also sounds like the simplest thing in the universe, but brands so often don't write it's a pre-order, or they won't write it until after you place the order, which is chaotic. It's like you place the order, and then in the order confirmation they say, by the way, it's a pre-order. It takes 4 weeks to ship, and you're like, okay, what? And then Shopify, right?
Brands will
there's
do
no
that.
way, yeah, and there's no way with Shopify to not charge the customer until it ships. So you're basically giving them a free loan for 6 weeks. So it's like they collect $1 million, they pay for all their merchandise, and then they order it and it ships. Who needs net 60 if you can just borrow from your customers, huh?
If you're growing fast, just like we are, you know exactly how hard cash flow management can be. You've got customers to acquire, you've got ads to fund, you've got inventory to finance, especially if you don't want to dilute yourself by raising around. What options do you have? Enter Wayflyer. With Wayflyer, you can get fast, flexible funding from $10K to $20 million at the best possible rates. No collateral, no dilution, just the funding you need to improve your working capital and help you grow your business. Join the thousands of businesses using Wayflyer to fund their growth. Go to wayflyer.com/pod to learn more. Jeez, I didn't know in this scenario you're talking about
I've seen
brands
that.
like not saying it's pre-order. I would be pissed. I feel like but
I mean,
do you agree that's a major no-no? Like, don't do that. Like, if it's a pre-order, do that. Like Supply
Yeah.
does a good job of that. The razor company. Like, I know right now, like they're just having inventory issues and they can't keep up with it, and they're saying, hey, it's a pre-order, and apparently it still sells pretty well for them. But I like that they do a good job saying, hey, like, this is a pre-order.
Yeah.
Pre-order it now. Like,
yeah, and I think it's brilliant
there's no
because
mistake.
I think, didn't Supply start off in the Kickstarter realm? I think they did. But I think, yeah, a brand like Supply understands that they're selling a premise. They're obviously selling a great product as well, but they're a brand. They're not just a razor; it's a brand. And I think they're somebody that wants a razor doesn't necessarily need it tomorrow. They're probably upgrading whatever trashier razor they're using, and they can wait 3 weeks and they're okay buying into the brand. I think that, to me, the fascinating thing is, and we talk about this very often, is like this play of like more cash today versus this customer never coming back again. I mean, I've seen this in food and beverage. I've seen this in broader like CPG, where brands will just promise one thing and it'll, a week later, and generally you won't even hear back. Like the hack here with Wonderment and Feastables, the hack is like proactive communication. They don't wait for you to reach out and say, hey, where's my shit? Because at that point you're ready kind of in the catch up. And I think that's I've always looked for something like that. Is like, how can we proactively say like, hey, thank you for your order. We just noticed that it's taking longer than normal. Not blame it on DHL, but say like, it seems like there's an issue with shipping. We stand behind it. We'll make sure you get it. We don't push you to route. We don't push you to whatever else. It's on us. We'll make sure you get it. Some other kind of like interesting tactics I've seen is certain brands will write it in the product, on the product page, in the description, all the way on the bottom. It'll say, this product takes 6 weeks to ship, but like just put it in the actual CTA, or like it's not a win. It's like a win today, and I mean, who's buying clothing?
Yeah, I know, but that's a problem. Is no one wants to sacrifice the win today. Everyone wants to win today, and no one wants to sacrifice a little win today for a longer term outcome. So we had this happen. This was before you joined. Black Friday, we did this like customized set of mini Miracle Bombs, so people could pick their shades. They got 3 of them. They could pick their shades, and we occasionally have some syncing issues. As you know, we have oversold, not on purpose, but because there's a little bit of a lag that hopefully we're fixing soon. And normally we would set aside about 50 to 100, which would be safe. But on Black Friday, because we sold essentially 10 times more than we did on a normal day, in that time period of being sold out before we could actually like catch it, we oversold like several hundred. And these were mini Miracle Bombs that we don't sell at any other time. We were out of inventory. So there were several hundred people that were, not able to get what we promised them. So This was before I obviously knew Eli, but this was before Eli was joining us. So and we didn't have a director of CX. So I had to kind of, put my Eli hat on and kind of think about it. And what we ended up doing is wrote a plain text email. I wrote it up. I think it came from kind of our like head of CX at the time. I don't remember exactly who it came from. And we essentially gave them options. We said, it was plain text. Hey, here's what happened. This is my name. Here's what happened. We oversold. To be honest, we didn't anticipate this demand. We also had a technical issue, and we're so sorry for that. We want to give you a few options. And the reason we gave them options is like something I learned in sales a while ago. It's like when you tell somebody one thing, right? Like people want to be in control. When you tell them something, they feel like they're being sold to. They feel like they're being forced. You give somebody 2 to 3 options, and they feel like they're in control. Then you give more than that, it's a little bit overwhelming. So let them feel like it's their decision, and just make sure you're okay with any of them. So we essentially said, we'll refund your whole order. We'll short ship it. So that was option 1, refund the whole order. Number 2 is short ship it. So let's say 1 was out of stock, but 2 of them they had, we would just ship them the 2 of them, and then refund them for the third. The other option is that, let's say 2 of them were in stock, one shade was out of stock. Instead of giving them the mini, we would send them a full size at no additional cost. And that seemed to go pretty well. Again, and there's more cost to the full size, not a crazy amount, but I think most people took that. Some people took short shipping. Very few people took the refund. But it went from being a pretty scary situation to our team to
I absolutely
actually
love the
went over
idea
pretty
of
well.
giving customers optionality. I think it's genius. I think just saying like, here's a refund pisses people off. I think giving them the idea of like, either you can swap or you can get a refund or you can wait. I think it's pretty shocking that you see a lot of people are willing to wait. Like if something like that happens, they're like, sure, I have no problem waiting. Thanks for the proactive communication. I think that's really shocking that people would not guess, right?
So somebody who is no longer on our team, but you might be able to guess who, at what they wanted to do, their first thing, they're like, oh, let's just refund all the orders. And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, if I was a
Let's just
customer,
refund it.
I just ordered something and I thought I was going to get it, and it was something that I really wanted, and I just got a notification that said your order was delivered, like I would never buy
And it's
from that
funny
company
because
again. I would have
Cody,
been
if you
so,
ask like the
don't do that.
CX gurus that have been around for 80 years, they'll probably, I mean, that's what Best Buy does. That's like what Staples does. Like the large brands do that stuff where they'll just like cancel your order, refund it. And I think it's the optionality piece that you're pulling from sales. I think is absolutely genius. Like you're saying, it puts people in the driver's seat, gives them control. I think to me, the most fascinating thing is that brands always try to act like they're bigger than, like they have this veil of like, we're this massive brand. And what we're learning over the last few years is that when brands are personable, it actually does much better. Like Amanda's a great example.
Yeah,
House
be
of Wise.
vulnerable.
It's like, it's me, right? This is my brand. It's me. I have a tiny team. It's all out there.
Yeah. Personal brand is really important. When people feel like they are part of the journey and the process, the whole building in public thing, and even and they see not the perfect stuff, but they see all the other stuff, and you're vulnerable with them, it just makes everything a lot better. It's just kind of they are a lot more understanding versus if you're trying to act perfect all the time and you're trying to act bigger than you are and not personable. Like people don't have nearly as much patience for you. So one more question before we move on. So as you know, we have this mascara that we can't keep in stock currently. So just for the listeners, we sold out a while ago, right? And then we did it in a kit. We brought it back. We sold out pretty quickly. We sold out again. Our wait list was 10,000 people. And then we brought it back and it just kind of sold like crazy. So we just ran out. It's probably been about 3 weeks, and we'll have it back in a little bit. Curious from a customer experience standpoint, what is your thoughts? Like, should we be messaging people and putting it on social and sending an email when we have it back this time? Or do you think it's like too much and now it's like a bad experience and people are going to be like, well, you guys can't keep this fucking thing in stock. You don't know.
I think,
like, what's your take?
I think option A, like I think showing that, hey, it's here, like this is the thing that sells out constantly. We're a small business. Like I think people don't understand. They look at us and they guess we have a team of 400. We're a team of 20. Like I think we sell out quickly because this product is awesome. Like we're ordering 10 times more this time than we ordered last time, and we still sold out. I think it's the struggle with that is mascara is one of the few kind of SKUs that we have that people use every day, right? It's not like a special occasion thing. the downside of this like constant sellout, like it's obviously great for sales, right? Because it's like it's it's not limited edition, but it sells out, right?
Good and
It
bad,
feels like there's this
Yeah.
like scarcity thing, right? The downside is people will be commenting like, I love this, it's my go-to, and now I can't get it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But do you think there's any harm? Like, do you think anybody will be pissed or comment negatively if we do like a social post and an email and saying like, all right,
I mean,
it's back again? Like, do you think
I think I
we
would
should
definitely
do it?
do
And
it,
if so, how
and I
should
would
it be
probably
messaged?
write something about, it's back again, hopefully for a longer period of time. Like, be person, like, yeah. I mean, like, just
Like,
just
kinda
make
joke
believe it
about it a
doesn't
little bit.
exist is kind of silly, and I think people like when brands are
Yeah.
personable and have some sort of personality that isn't cringe. The
Yeah.
last thing on this, and then we can. I'm also curious, just as an after, we can maybe talk about Radio Shack for a quick second. But the other the other interesting thing that I think about talking about, like we spoke about this on our second episode about like cringe hacks that we hate, and I think that might be a recurring segment of cringe hacks that we hate. What are your thoughts on the brands that do like,
Love
hey,
it.
it's the warehouse manager, I by mistake clicked a button and now there's 20% off for the next 2 hours, like those emails that are like, it's BS, but it's like, hey, it's my last day, I'm on strike, I'm quitting, sending this email to everyone saying for the next 3 hours it's 50% off.
I haven't seen them that extreme.
Yeah,
I haven't seen them that extreme, but obviously like the RE and the forward and like the like coming from the assistant, like, hey, Eli wants to make sure you saw all this. Like, I'm conflicted because like I come from a very hardcore direct response background where like we would do that shit all the time because it works. But for a brand with how we are choosing to build a brand and everything we're doing is secondary to building a brand because we believe that's best for long term. I don't necessarily love that. So I think it depends. I think there's a lot of hacks. I guess there's a lot of growth hacks that you can do to make money today and get good numbers. And if you're fine with that, and if that's how you want to build your business, there's no judgment from us. It's just not what we choose to do because we think that's sacrifice. At least me. I don't want to speak for you, but that's sacrificing long term for.
No, I think the one I saw
what do you think?
About a year ago it was actually around Black Friday. It was like, our warehouse manager clicked the wrong button and our sale started 4 days earlier. And I think it's like, I think it's cringe as hell. That's my thoughts. I think it's cringe as hell.
Yeah.
I think it's
sale
very
extended
cringe.
One more day.
Obviously we're on the extreme. Like marketers are like, oh, this is cringe as hell. Consumers are like, the first time they're like, oh, extended another day, awesome. And then the second time and the third time and the fourth time, it's like when you do FWD or RE for the seventh time, it doesn't work. So what do? Switch to the next hack?
Yeah.
I guess.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Pretty much. I know. I was thinking about it and I saw, hey, it's Alex P on Twitter when Glossier just sale extended. She was like, I think she tweeted and she was like, this is how you know that 100%. They didn't hit their goal. And then so some VP is like,
I keep saying this, right? I keep saying this. End of the quarter, end of the month is when all the cringe shit comes out. Everyone has their KPIs. Yeah,
that's so funny. We got to pay
last day.
We got to pay attention to that. So it's one more last thing that's probably much is kind of funny. So our top TikTok and Facebook ad for mascara that we've been running is the angle, the hook is like we've had a wait list of 10,000 people, and ad crushed it, absolutely crushed it, did amazing. However, there are so many people that were like, if you have a wait list of 10,000 people, why do you have to advertise? So like, why are you advertising? Fulfill it to them first or something. And it's like,
it's called
you guys completely
advertising.
Missed the point. Like, do we have to like completely spell it out? And yeah, we already sold it to them. It's that we had a wait list of 10,000
something
people.
something funny that this is like behind the scenes little thing. We actually were supposed to get the mascara back in stock July, and our supplier said like, we can get it to you faster if you have like the top will be matte and the rest will be shiny, and basically like a mismatched cover bottom. We sold thousands of those. We have not gotten, as far as I know, we haven't gotten a single email with anyone complaining. Nothing even pointing it out.
You're right, and we were gonna make such a big thing of it. So we ended up when what
Right.
you're talking about happened, we got half of them had the original one, half of them had a different one. Before that, when we thought they were all gonna be different, a different bottle, we were gonna message it and be like, hey, like like just so you know, like this happened, like before you order, and then I decided not to
Yeah.
once we found out that only half of them were gonna be different. But you're
It's
totally
so
right. No one
fascinating
has
to me
said
because you'd
anything.
think that people would at least comment about it. Nothing.
Yeah, it's so interesting what people comment about because obviously
Yeah.
our
Yes.
customers are very vocal. I think a lot of customers are, but for whatever reason, do you feel
Well,
like our customers are more
different.
vocal than
Well, I
other
think they're very
places you
different.
work,
Like
or is
when
it
I was
just
at
me?
Nugs, which is Simulate
Different.
now, the customers were like 22-year-old frat boys. So they were aggressive. Like they were funny, but they were
Yeah. So
aggressive,
yeah,
and
it
it was just
depends.
like a very different
Yeah.
customer base. I'd say Olipop and Jones are pretty similar customer base. It's like a maybe Jones Road is slightly leans slightly older demographic wise, but like predominantly female, a little bit older. I guess maybe Olipop was slightly more affluent customer base because it was like $35 for a 12-pack of soda, but
Mm-hmm.
they were definitely vocal. Like they had a lot of thoughts about, more so about like they saw on TV that aluminum cans can cause cancer. Like that would come up 8 times a week. And it's like, do you not drink any other soda from or any other beverage from cans, or do you drive everyone crazy?
That's so funny.
Some of it's pseudoscience, some of it we would
That's so
answer
funny.
and deal with, and some of it is like, so don't buy it, right?
Yeah, I guess it's a good thing. I guess it's a net positive. To have
you learn
very vocal
everything.
customers,
Yeah,
even
you
though they
learn
may,
everything. I think it's to me, it's always
opinions
fascinating
sometimes.
when
Yeah.
people can have like non-curated conversation. Like I think when brands can have just very like straightforward, almost like they're shooting the shit. I
Yeah.
remember when I was at Nugs, like we were just very like it was just very transactional. It was like, where's my shit? Here's your shit. And then I started this thing where it was like, what do you dip it in? Like you get these Nugs weekly. What sauce do you dip it in? And it was just like we just opened up this box of like people just sharing their crazy concoctions, and it became like this. It was just this fun little tidbit of learning what people are doing with the product. And eventually, Nugs launched a barbecue sauce, and I think it was like we just collected so much data from having these casual conversations at Olipop. We used to collect flavor choices, and even at Jones, it's like we learned that people love face powders. We learned that people, I mean, the amount of people that commented about SPF after our WTF launch, like we're learning what our customers want, and I think we're in this unique spot where like very many beauty brands that start are building this thing from like from scratch. Bobby has been in the industry for a bunch of years, so this is like everything that she's been learning over the last couple of decades, which makes it fun.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
never know it all. She's still learning. We're still learning, and you launch something. And it's like, oh shit, we don't have the right shades of this, or like even like how to message something. Like I was just kind of doing some like copy research for What the Foundation the other day, and kind of coming up with some angles and hooks, and like I was, it probably 6 weeks later, I was like, okay, like here's probably the best way to message it, or here's how we should test. Versus like when you first launch a product, you're like, I have no idea. Like, I think this is going to hit, but like, I don't really know, And then you realize like there's a completely different use than what you would have thought of. And
it also feels fucking great when you take a wild stab at something and it resonates. Like the no makeup or makeup for people that don't love makeup is like a thing that Bobby just like, shot from the hip one day, and it resonates hardcore every time we say it. I love that.
And it resonates a lot more than what we used to say. So glad
Yeah.
I'm right. Check. What's your switching gears? What's your take? There's been a lot of talk on Twitter about this. I'm curious your take from not a growth person on ads that kind of perform really well, but let's say like they don't look great. So that let's say they're not on brand. Let's say they're a little bit clickbaity. Let's say they have like a spelling mistake, right? Like I don't know if you've seen this on Twitter where people are like, like good ads should look ugly, like good looking ads never perform, and then like, oh, I'll intentionally do spelling errors to get more engagement on my ads and stuff like that. What's your take on all that?
That's
curious.
I hate hacks. Well, before I give
I
you
want
my
the people
take,
to hear
if
it.
anyone has not seen Rudy Giuliani's pitch for the sandals from My Pillow Guy, they must. Use Rudy something.
Yeah, what's the code?
He's
Use
selling
Rudy 40.
like $7 sandals for $50, but full price was $79.98. I think that's life comes at you fast. I think it's a
Life comes
masterclass
at you
in
fast.
advertising. My take is, I think, in general, what works well, like I would love for growth marketers to start viewing things more holistically. Like we've seen this time and time again where low CAC doesn't mean high LTV. And I think obviously high LTV, compare it to other ads you're running, use whatever analytics tool you're using, see if the customers that come in on this kitschy, janky ad are high LTV customers. If they are, yeah. And if they are, like if they are, if your customers are coming in on your spelling mistakes ad or your janky, PowerPoint, whatever ad that you screenshotted from your grandma, if that shit works and customers stick around long term and they're subscribing and the LTV looks the same, go for it. My problem with agency in general is that most of them have a very straightforward goal. Their KPIs are around growth and there's zero on retention. So they're incentivized to bring in people at the cheapest possible click. And there's very, very little focus. So I think that the thread you're talking about is somebody saying that, like, play this out. You come to a company, you kick ass, you run these ads that crush it. A CMO comes next week and he says, not on brand, it all has to go. They bring in fancy ads and it sucks. And I think it's like, I see you having these conversations on Twitter all the time of like brand versus performance. And I think that there's this dichotomy that constantly comes up that it's not possible to have both. Like if you're optimizing for brand, you can't have performance. And I think that's BS. Like we've seen that.
Yeah, it's such a false dichotomy, and it's like the performance people, the growth people think they're so right? And it's just about it's just about what game you're playing, and it's like we need to see it from other people's perspectives, and people are so like performance people, growth people are so much like brand people don't understand what makes good ads. Like this is how stuff has to work. Like this is what you have to do to get stuff to work. And then the brand people are like, hey, performance people don't necessarily get brand, and it's like, we should probably meet in the middle. And this is why I like guys like Sharma so much, right? Because he talks about, performance-based branding, or whatever he calls it. I totally forget what he calls it, but like stuff like that, right? And there's a lot of people who do understand kind of how to blend them together and how to make ads that convert well.
Don't diminish your brand, right?
Put your best foot forward and exactly, don't diminish your brand. And it's such a subjective thing, and the problem is most people on media buying Twitter don't even necessarily care about brand. And even a lot of brand owners, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I think it's so many people talk past each other, and Twitter is probably not the best place for it. I think you can definitely get stuff that looks good and converts, absolutely. But I also think when I talk about brand, when other people do, people think branding. And I think what brand is the most misunderstood thing in the entire world. Mm-hmm. I think you can run UGC that's on brand, right? It has nothing to do with fonts and logos and colors. It has everything to do with more about brand strategy, right? So I tell people less branding, more brand strategy. What are you about? What is your mission? What is brand in a nutshell is who you are and what you're known for, right? What's the first person, what are your values, and what do people, when they talk about you, when I bring up Athletic Greens Eli, what am I saying about it? That's brand way more than it is about branding. How do people feel about you? And the logo and the colors are only one tiny, tiny component of how people feel about you. So I think that's it. So I think if we do an iPhone ad with Bobby talking about using Miracle Balm or no makeup, and it just helps her feel more confident, even though it's on TikTok font and shot on an iPhone, to me, that's the most on-brand thing in the world. It's not, even though it doesn't have our logo and stuff like that. Versus if we ran an ad for our mascara, and right, our brand, our aesthetic is more of a no makeup look. And if we ran a mascara ad and said it was like false lashes or something like that, and like did a completely different look, even if we shot it on an 8K camera and had our logos and font, like to me, that would still not be on brand. Because it's more about the messaging wouldn't be what we're trying to put out there.
I think it's solid. And the caveat to all of this is, and we say this every time, is not to say your janky kind of like sexual racy ads won't work. And not to say you can't build a business that absolutely crushes in the drop shipping realm. But when you think about brand, it's the way people feel. It's will people stand up and fight someone for it. It's, when you think about that, it's like the brands that have longevity, like the brands that aren't looking for a quick exit. And I think the brands that build with longevity in mind and think about how they want people to feel and what their values. Like I know that even at Jones, like this week was a chaotic week with the Supreme Court, and the fact that we took a stance on it. Like I was talking to Bobby, and she was like, this is what I like, this is what I stand for, and I'm definitely going to say something. And I think I think that's what brand is. Brand is who you are and the way you make people feel and the things you stand for. And I think they're very smart branding people that can figure out how to stay on brand and work with performance people to make sure it performs well. But I think when you think about word of mouth, like I never heard somebody say like, hey, you're looking to lose weight, check out those teas that Kim K posts photos of. Like, it's just like, do they sell a ton of it? They definitely do. But again, like everyone says, like, get out of here with your green bubble. Time to get an iPhone when somebody has a green bubble because they love what Apple stands for. And it's like, that to me is brand. Brand is like, would somebody say like, hey, you're looking to get on a health kick, check out AG. It's because they love being associated with it. And I think the janky kind of cheeky, weird misspelling ads from shoddy brands are generally not what does that.
Yeah, memes and stuff like that, and like
Talking
sexual
about
tweets, like that's not doing
sexual
anything.
tweets.
And again, it's like you said,
we'll get into it.
let's finish brand first, and then we'll go full Ty Lopez. I think it's two things. It's not to say that you have to have a brand and you have to care about brand. I think there's two different ways to build a business, and I think you can go hardcore direct response and sell stuff and still build a really good business. I think it's harder. I think it's way harder than it used to be, and I think it is a lot easier to get a point of diminishing returns. I think you can get going, you can get some nice cash flow, get some customers, but I see so many brands plateau and so many businesses plateau, and they're just trying to direct response their way out of it. And if you look at the biggest businesses in the world, even the biggest consumer businesses in the world, and a lot of people on media buying DTC Twitter mock these companies for running terrible Facebook ads and terrible ads and stuff like that. But it's like, these companies crush it because guess what? They actually do understand brand, and they do know how to get people talking about them, feeling a certain way of them, having an association. It's why I got these AirPod Maxes and didn't look at Bose or anything like that. Like it's pretty ridiculous what some of these companies like Apple are doing and Tesla are doing. And if you think brand is not important, it's you can find examples of direct response companies with no brand that are $100 million, but there's going to be a lot less of them, I think, and there's going to be a lot less in the future. I saw this TikTok video. I've been trying to find it. I can't find it. It was of Gary Vee talking about Nike, and he was like, he's wearing Air Force Ones, and he's like, you think they fucking pixeled me? Like, this is brand. Like, I didn't buy these because they had a pixel and they retargeted me. Like, I bought these because they're Nike.
To me is also around pricing. Like, Apple can raise their price every year. Tesla has gone. I mean, when Tesla launched the Model 3, it was $35K. Now it's like $50. Nobody blinks because they've built something much stronger than just the product. And if your whatever kind of janky drop shipping thing went up in price $10 and you have to pass those increases to your consumer, you have nothing to lean on. So you were all about price. Now you have nothing left. So I think it's especially now with the economic uncertainty, whether it's a recession or whatever ends up happening over the next 3 years, I think brands that have really strong brand are going to feel a lot less of the tightening than anyone else because, I mean, what do people cut out first? They're not cutting their iPhone out. People will be homeless and they'll still have an iPhone, right? Like the things that people are cutting out are the things that are overpriced and silly, and they don't feel any close anything to. They don't feel strongly about it. So I think beauty is obviously a space that people will not cut out as quick as some others, but I think the brand is going to be even more important. I feel like whatever podcast topic we start with, we end up in brands. Huge brand guys.
Big brand. Yes, big brand energy.
Oh, all right. God.
Radio Shack has, I don't know if everyone has seen this, but recently on Twitter, Radio Shack has been going crazy. There's been some crazy tweets from a few brands, I feel like, but Radio Shack has just been provocative, sexual, really pretty much disgusting. People thought they got hacked, and they came out and said we did not get hacked. You want to
100%. We should. Well, we should read the one where they were apologizing but not apologizing. I'm gonna put up. I mean, so some history, and I think people don't really people haven't known this until recently, is that Radio Shack, they still have some stores, but their online business was divested and they sold to Ty Lopez. The knowledge here in my garage, the Ty Lopez, which they have been kind of
Ty Lopez has this company called Retail Enterprise Ventures, where he essentially buys up bankrupt kind of companies from the 90s. So like Radio Shack, Pier 1 Imports is another one. There's a bunch, but essentially he turns them into really e-commerce businesses, and just kind of licenses the brand name. So one of them is Radio Shack. And lately they went viral on Twitter for some of the tweets. I don't even want to read them.
I mean,
should we do it or not?
We don't have to. I mean, you can check it out if you're feeling like it. I would love to read the apology. It goes something like
oh
this.
Was there one? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it goes something like this. Shack intern here. I wanted to take a second to reflect on my post. I know you're expecting me to say in my wildest dreams I never thought this tweet would go viral and to apologize, but I did, because I knew that shit was fire as fuck. No, it did not get hacked, and no, I'm not fired. Period. Buckle up, bitch. And they have been, 300 and something thousand likes, 37.9K retweets. And they have just been, if you go to their website, they're shilling crypto. They are launching crypto. They have some coin. And this is 2022.
We are so fucked.
Yeah,
I think this is such a great example of like, this is a very, very, very far end example, but it still proves the point that like you can do things that are good for growth and engagement that are really bad for long-term business. They're getting a ton of impressions, a ton of engagement. There's probably so many marketers that are like, I love this. This is great. Everyone's talking about them, but it's like, it's not necessarily a good thing.
Insane.
It's embarrassing. They're turning a ton of people away. It's embarrassing.
Chaos. Okay. Anything else we want to hit on today?
What else we got to talk about? Anything else?
Any fun questions? Did we get any questions we want to tackle from the audience?
Yeah, let's do a few. Let's do a few like rapid fire questions. Let me pull up a few. You got any that you remember?
I do not.
Oh, you know what? All right, let's end it. I have something at 11. Totally realized, so we'll call it there.
Okay. Well, for next time, rapid fire, we have some fun guests coming up. We've both been out of the country for a couple of weeks now, so Cody's back. I'm back next week, and we have some really exciting guests. And again, special shout out to Wayflyer and swag.com for setting us up here, and appreciate you listening. If you love this, drop a review, let the folks know, share it with a bestie in D2C, and until next time.
Yeah, anybody who listens, if you've listened to this far, I don't know how you've done it, but thank you so much. Just getting going, thank you for the feedback on our audio and stuff like that. We're definitely working on it. Eli just bought a bougie ass mic, but we're working on it. Any feedback you have for us, good or bad, is super appreciated. Anybody who's saying, on Twitter, I listened to it, this is great, appreciated more than you guys know. So thank you so much. We're going to keep them consistent, and we're excited about some of the guests that we're going to have coming up.
Namaste.